10 o'clock each and every Saturday morning right here at www.theupliftlive.com. Now be sure to check us out on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. as we review the top news stories of the week important to the African American community. So once again, that's the review, 10 o'clock every Saturday morning right here for Dr. Robert Ashley on www.theupliftlive.com. And we welcome you to the review right here at www.theupliftlive.com. Brother Dr. Robert Ashley with you here on a Saturday morning. And once again, we are honored to have you with us. We thank you once again for being with us. And once again, keep in mind now who we are. We are the upliftlive.com, an online gospel radio station, bringing you the best in contemporary as well as traditional gospel music. A lot of great programming here, a lot of ministry. And if you'd like to be a part of this radio station, just check out our website at www.theupliftlive.com. And once again, what we do here, we do news and we talk about the issues of the day here on a Saturday morning right here in Dallas, Texas, if you will. Now, also, we continue to ask you to be prayerful for all families that are going through. A couple of weeks ago, we had to take off because we had a death in our family, and we continue to be prayerful, and we continue to ask you to make sure that you never forget about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Now, also, this morning, we still want you to vote for this radio station. Now, we have the Avidity Awards that's coming up. It's going to be in New Orleans, Louisiana. But the interesting thing about it is you have until June 30th to vote. Now, of course, we here at www.theupliftlive.com, we have been nominated as an Internet Radio Station of the Year. And also one of our personalities, Brother Minister Jermaine Simpson, has been nominated for Radio Personality of the Year. Now, all you have to do is go to this website. It's the avidityawards.com. That's AVIDITY. Once again, that's AVIDITY, the Avidity Awards. Now, it's kind of a long voting list. It's a long voting list. But once again, you're looking for the Internet Radio Station of the Year, as well as the Radio Personality of the Year, Brother Minister Jermaine Simpson. And we've been on the site, been voting there, and we just encourage you to go through it. It's a kind of a long ballot there because there's a lot of great people in gospel music, great singers, all kinds of things that are indeed going on. Also want to shout out to Brother Mr. Kirk Franklin. Had a chance to see that new TV show there, and it's very interesting to see him and Tammy help these young people try to find that significant other. That's going to be an interesting show. And once again, I want to say hello to Brother Minister Kirk Franklin. Now, coming up a little bit later on, some of our regular panelists are scheduled to be with us here. Arthur Fleming, a longtime NAACP official, and also the Reverend Melvin Brown, considered to be our spiritual advisor here. And there's a good chance Miss Angela Lucky, the president of the Grand Prairie chapter of the NAACP, will be with us, because we understand that during the recent runoff elections, been some major accomplishments in terms of Black folks making progress in Grand Prairie, Texas. Now, out of all the cities here in Dallas and Fort Worth, we've covered many cities. We've seen Arlington have breakthroughs in terms of their elected representatives, Dallas, Fort Worth. But Grand Prairie was always kind of a strange one. I can remember when former President Barack Obama was our president, and several Grand Prairie police officers got in trouble because they drew this picture of Air Force One when President Obama came to Dallas and Fort Worth, and they put, was it N1? They drew the airplane and then put it on some sort of a flyer and circulated among police officers. Grand Prairie, Texas now, N1. And we want to thank Sister Angela Lucky for standing up back in the day there. And I don't know if they ever did anything to those police officers, but it just goes to show you that not all officers are what they're supposed to be, and not all of them are as bad as they're supposed to be as well. But don't put yourself in harm's way. That way, maybe you won't even have to deal with law enforcement officials. But once again, let's go to the avidityawards.com. It's the 8th annual awards that's coming up in the 504. We call that New Orleans, Louisiana, AVIDITY. And once again, the Uplift Live, we're up for the internet station of the year. And also Brother Minister Jermaine Simpson, Lisa, and of course the entire staff there, Chrissy and Deontay and Sean. Everybody's doing a great job there, and a lot of other great staff members with us as well. Now, one of the big stories that we're watching this morning is a situation over in Russia. Now, what's going on in Russia? Now, many of you know that we have sent well over $130 billion to help Ukraine fight the Russians. Now, what's going on this morning? And it's all over CNN, all over Fox News this morning. It seems like there is a Russian group that is led by a military leader who supposedly was on the side of Vladimir Putin. But now it seems like the Wagner, call him the Wagner Group. The Wagner Group, you're going to be hearing quite a bit about that in the news. The Wagner Group claims they have seized control of two key military facilities in Russian cities. Now, this is really, really big because the war has been typically between Ukraine and Russia in Ukrainian theater. But now, this Wagner Group, which was kind of a militant organization supposedly supporting Russia, but now it seems like they may have turned against Vladimir Putin. Now, the Biden administration, the State Department, everybody's reacting this morning because if there's another splinter group there in Russia that's taking on the big Russian bear, there's a possibility that Ukraine and this Wagner group could go in there and possibly remove Vladimir Putin from power. So things are really, really getting kind of strange over there in Russia this morning, and we just don't know exactly what's going to happen. And we hope and pray that here in the United States of America, we don't wind up on the attack or the end of some sort of a missile strike, because it could be a very, very serious situation in terms of the Russians and the fact that we have been sending $130 billion and a lot more in terms of military equipment over to Ukraine. And if Russia winds up in a state of chaos and the Russian government begins to fall, and Russia has all of these nuclear weapons, my goodness, we're going to have to continue to watch and be prayerful about that situation. But that is something that happened overnight, where this Wagner group, there's a possibility they may try to overthrow the Russian president, Vladimir Putin. But see, the only thing about that is that the Russian bear, the Bible talks about Gog and Magog. You got China, you got North Korea. What are they going to do? What will the Chinese army do if indeed there's a threat to Russia? And we just recently saw Vladimir Putin meet with the Russian and the Chinese president. And so that's something we're going to be watching very, very closely this morning. A power struggle seemingly is going on in Russia. Now, here in the United States, we have seen another indictment of former President Donald Trump. And then you had the House Ways and Means Committee just this week. These whistleblowers supposedly came out with information suggesting that Merrick Garland, our Attorney General, has tried to possibly obstruct investigations into then Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden regarding all of this $31 million that they've gotten from the Chinese, the Russians, and the Ukrainians. Bank records are being seized. Now, it's a really serious situation here in the United States because you have the former president, Donald Trump. He's facing all sorts of indictments and still running for president of the United States. His poll numbers are continuing to go up. And then you have President Biden, his son Hunter, who recently cut a deal with the Justice Department regarding a gun charge as well as a tax charge. And many, many people were saying that if you had been facing that gun charge, you would have been in jail for a couple of years. Kodak Black, one of the young rappers, from what we understand, caught the same kind of charge that Hunter Biden got, and Kodak Black wound up getting locked down. I think it was maybe 3 to 5 years, whereas Hunter Biden, that's the president's son, so he gets preferential treatment. Or is the media going to call that white privilege, if you will? Hunter Biden, is he getting white privilege, crack cocaine all over that computer and stuff like that? Now, we know in the black community, that crack cocaine, when it came into our community, it ravaged the black community. I can recall covering many, many stories about drive-by shootings here, drive-by shootings there. There was a Los Angeles connection with the Crips, Bloods coming and going all around the country, setting up these dope dealing apparatuses here. And come to find out, the CIA and the State Department, Oliver North, all these folks supposedly involved with the Iran-Contra, that the government would not fund, so they used the drug trade to fund the Contras and all that kind of stuff. But it was at the back of the black community, and I want to continue to thank Congresswoman Maxine Waters, Auntie Maxine, because I can recall when she had a big hearing in Los Angeles involving the former CIA director by the name of John Dorch at that time. He went there in the community, asked him all kinds of questions. Why y'all sending these drugs and these guns in here and committing all this genocidal stuff like that that's going on? So as we look at everything that's happening in America, perhaps the best thing that we can do in the body of Christ is just get close to God. Just get close to God, because you never know. You're going to wake up one morning. Hopefully, these folks will not engage themselves on a nuclear exchange, because nobody can win. in a nuclear scene. That's guaranteed nuclear annihilation, and we certainly don't need that kind of thing. But once again, if you're just now joining us, I'm Robert Ashley, and you're listening to radio station www.theupliftlive.com. I'm trying to tell you now, this station is really growing. We want to continue to thank many of our listeners. I mean, I'm hearing all kinds of things about the radio station because, this kind of gospel music, and that June still Black Music Month, or has Black Music Month been overshadowed by Gay Pride Month? Have you heard anything about Black Music Month? It's still June. I guess hopefully it still is. But the thing about it is, we just have to make sure that we're prayed up. Also, Speedy McCray. I want to shout out to Speedy McCray. I was listening to the station the other day, and Lisa and Jerome and Speedy, boy, they had me laughing. They had me laughing real hard there. But Speedy McCray, I think I was looking at Facebook this morning, and one of Speedy's relatives had gone home to be with the Lord. And I think it's a very young person, too. So, Speedy, we just want you to know, man, I hit you up on Facebook this morning. We are praying for you and your family in light of the loss. It kind of reminded me of the fact that just a couple of weeks ago, in my family, we buried a 15-year-old. This young man was an honor student. The word was that he had committed suicide, but we understand there's an investigation going on, but we just don't know. But either way it goes, if you have young people in your life, love on these young people. That's all they're looking for. It's genuine love and good direction. Don't use the young people. Don't try to get them out there doing this, doing that. But just be straight up with our young people, because many of them are beginning to wonder if indeed there was a future for them and whether or not this life is indeed worth living. All right. Well, once again, those are just some of the things that we wanted to hit on the soapbox here as we get ready. And once again, our guest probably still trying to log in here. Now, some of the big stories that we did cover this week was, of course, one of the stories that dealt with, of course, President Biden. There's been a lot of talk about trying to impeach the president. We saw two Republican women, Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Republican from Georgia, and Lauren Boebert. I think she is a Republican, Minnesota, Montana, one of those conservative areas there. But they were on the House floor talking about each other wow, using the B word. And these were congresswomen, both Republican, and they were bickering over the fact, over I guess, a piece of legislation calling for the impeachment of President Joe Biden. Now, many of you know that Kevin McCarthy, who is now the Republican House Speaker, they're trying to make a move to decertify the impeachments of President Trump. Kevin McCarthy, the Republicans are controlling the House. So there's been a lot of talk. And see, the media, was it CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, MSNBC, they said nothing about what the House Ways and Means Committee, these whistleblowers, they did not even cover that story at all. Now, the thing about it is, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, the media, when the media begins to take sides, that could be a dangerous weapon that could be used against the American people. Just like we're finding out more and more information about the COVID-19 vaccine. Boy, everything is coming out right now. They knew that these shots would not stop the virus. They knew that the shots would not stop the spread. That's why the story kept changing. Dr. Fauci, the head of the CDC, it's just incredible the lies that they told to the American people. And then they came out and finally admitted about myocarditis. This is a heart condition that a lot of our fellow Americans have suffered as a result of the COVID-19 vaccine. But the good thing about it is, now there were batches of that vaccine that some considered to be really bad batches. And then there were other batches of the vaccine where there were no side effects. It was considered to be a clean vaccine. Nobody supposedly got hurt. But in the totality of things, from what we understand, there's been a lot of information. A lot of doctors now are beginning to speak out about what they are seeing as a result of the side effects and the long-term effects of COVID-19. Now, also, some of you may remember Nicki Minaj. When Nicki Minaj came out and said, well, look, I don't encourage anybody to get the vaccine because one of my relatives said it's going to be some problems with your male reproductive organs. Well, the studies are out. The studies are out in terms of miscarriages, birth defects, all kinds of things as a result of the COVID shot. And the bad thing about it is they had already conducted clinical tests on lab animals, and they knew that some of the vaccine would cause myocarditis, strokes, blood clots, and all that kind of thing. But either way it goes, we continue to pray for you. We ask God for divine healing for those of you who may have suffered what they call now vaccine injuries. And it's very, very interesting. I remember back when Ronald Reagan, who was president, signed a law where members of Congress said that pharmaceutical companies would be immune from lawsuits. And I said, well, why are they passing legislation here back during the Reagan days, during the Bush days, so that vaccine producers like Pfizer, Moderna, and all these folks, AstraZeneca, if you will, would not be held liable for the side effects of their vaccines? Now we indeed understand. All right. Well, once again, Robert Ashley with you here at www.theupliftlive.com. Look like I'm getting some folks. Look like the one and only Roger Ruffin is on the screen with us there. We were looking at Arthur Fleming. I don't think Arthur's sitting in that chair. Then, of course, Reverend Melvin Brown. But good morning to you, Reggie Ruffin. How are you on this Saturday morning, man? How you doing?
Well, tan, rested, and ready. I was in Jackson, Mississippi the past couple of weeks trying to get some traction going on the Frito-Lay lawsuit that we're doing, and
yes,
trying to make up for some very scorched earth and some damaged credibility that's been going on that. Media, I'm trying to get them to take me for what I was saying on it, because it's amazing the damage that a bad attorney can do on something like this. I mean, we are already dealing with more than enough in today's world trying to get anything done on any level. But, trying to reach back out with the other clients and the other co-litigants, it says a lot when people are sitting around here dying from what they contracted working at those facilities, and they're, you give them your word that you're going to try to seek justice for it, but then nothing happens. And, so to have that walk of faith again, one of the other co-litigants, Levi Miller, he passed away last year. He had brain cancer. And, so my heart really goes out to him. And Jane Alice Bully she's a very strong lady, been fighting for the past over 20 years. And I mean, she's living at a hospice facility and still hanging in there. And
let's get a little. Now, this is a class action lawsuit that the Just Cause Coalition and yourself were dealing with some people who had been working at Frito-Lay. Is this the mesothelioma? Is that what they had been diagnosed with? Is that another separate case?
No, it's the same case. Not only did they have mesothelioma, but the biggest problem they had was the pesticides that they was taking in. They was ingesting the pesticides while they working on their batches, trying to make the chips and everything like that. Back in the 70s and the 80s, they was just going in there. They'll spray the place while they was still working there. They didn't have no breathing apparatus, and they go in there, spray, and they're breathing it in, totally unaware of what's going on. OSHA came in and started regulating what type of pesticides and what could be used and not used, and even start mandating that if employees are getting are getting sick behind this, that the company would have to foot the bill for everything. Their moving expenses, hospital costs, funeral costs, all those things were very tantamount to what needed to be done. That's what OSHA had mandated. So when the plant closed in 1999, people were totally unaware about what had happened. Frito-Lay just closed everything and just moved on to another facility and built another facility, while these former employees were, just started dying off one by one, totally unaware of how they got sick. And that's not just in Jackson, Mississippi. It's a lot of places nationwide. Frito-Lay makes over $30 billion every year. And my plan was, when I got the lawsuit filed in 2021, was to try to get them served before football season so that I could call for a boycott try to get some media coverage and get a boycott going to force them to the bargaining table.
Mhm.
But when you have a crook like Guy Rogers that turn around and not even serve the defendant, it gets them off the hook. And the only way
is that the lawyer? That's the lawyer that you all had gotten to handle your class action suit. So I mean, Frito-Lay these are one of the big Fortune 500 companies, and taking on a big Fortune 500 company in this day and time. Do you think that they've compromised your lawyer? And once again, I want to say good morning to the Reverend Melvin Brown, who's also with us here this morning. Because without the lawyer,
right?
How can your class action lawsuit go forward?
Right, because I mean, you file a $100 million lawsuit, and you don't even serve the defendant. I mean, nobody's that incompetent, not without some help, some fiduciary help, might add. And I don't have a problem saying these things. Because see, what I did was I made sure, just in case I did get backdoored like that, I kept records of every conversation that I was doing. And because this man also he was working on my Frito-Lay case. He did an ad hoc visa where he was working with Mr. Kurtz. He tried to muscle Kurtz out of the way and then try to take on the case himself. And even said he had his own attorney with with bar certification in Texas, so he could try to muscle that. But what he did was he screwed up both cases. I had to get Jeff Henley to help finish doing the State Farm case, because you have to spend so much money on these type of lawsuits. Henley spent over $100,000 just trying to get that Tony Temple case going forward. That's like, remember we talked about that earlier with Carolyn King Arnold about you have to get a lawyer. She kept mumbling about you got to get a lawyer. Well, getting a lawyer comes at a cost, and a cost that most people can't afford to pay.
Right. Yes, indeed. Well, once again, everybody, Reggie Ruffin, the founder of the Just Cause Coalition, telling us about the class action lawsuit that they had filed against Frito-Lay, a mesothelioma case. And if you can get good counsel dealing with a lot of these issues, you could really get stuck on the legal sidelines. So, hey, we continue to wish you well. And let's get Reverend Brown into the conversation. Reverend Brown, I want to say a good Saturday morning to you, sir. How are you, Reverend Brown?
Dr. Ashley, you're my friend.
Well, praise the Lord, and happy Father's Day to all you guys. I don't think we had a chance to say a happy Father's Day to you gentlemen there. We weren't with you last week there, but a continued happy Father's Day to everybody there, Reggie and Reverend Brown, and hope all is well.
Thank you, sir.
Pastor Brown,
look here, I'm just seeing a story here about Jamie Foxx. Now, Jamie Foxx got a new movie that's getting ready to come out. And, we're still trying to figure out what's been the latest information about Jamie Foxx's medical condition. But I'm on the MSNBC webpage this morning. Jamie Foxx's new movie, God is a Bullet, debuts in 2 months after his medical emergency. And now I don't know how to interpret that. God is a Bullet. Now, Reggie, when you think about something like that, in light of what Jamie Foxx has been going through, medical condition, he said at one time we heard somebody wanted to kill him on the set. We had one guy, AJ Benza, who said it was a reaction to the COVID vaccine. We don't know what's going on with Jamie, but he's from Terrell, Texas, and his new movie, God is a Bullet. Do you think he's engaged in some kind of spiritual warfare, or do we even know?
As they say, I just get my popcorn. I'm gonna watch the show and see how this plays out, because my brother has had me. I think God needs to. I think as far as God being a bullet, somebody need to shoot him a prayer or 2 or 3 or 4, because he's been all over the place. Like, I hope this means he's gonna do another Django movie.
Well, maybe somebody is mad about that Django movie because that movie sure did send a message down. But Reverend Brown, coming to you, Reverend Brown, God is a Bullet. That's Jamie Foxx's new movie. I mean, we have no idea I mean, thank God he's got the movie shot. Whatever happened to the movie with Celine Dion? Is that movie ever going to be made now, or is that one on the shelf? Or God is a bullet, Reverend? How do you interpret that?
I don't really have a biblical interpretation of God is a bullet. I don't. I'm not sure if I understand where Mr. Jamie Foxx is from. Obviously, he's under some type of spiritual attack because he's using God as a way of identifying. But I would say for all of us that are going to be entertained in the movie, that we need to come away with this idea that God is faithful. Now, if he's out to get somebody, I don't believe that that's God's demeanor. I don't believe that's his character. He loves us regardless of going through. So I would just be careful that we chase something that is physically, spiritually, or otherwise mean that God is after us with a bullet. That God loves us with all that he has.
And then again, now it could be a fact that if God is a bullet, maybe God is fighting for him. Doesn't the Bible tells us on many occasions that the Lord hold your peace and allow the Lord to fight that battle? So I hope that he's okay. I don't know. They got several pictures of him up here with this new movie, but y'all probably see it in the paper today somewhere. Oh boy. All right. Well, once again, you're listening to the review right here at www.theupliftlive.com. Yes, sir, Reverend Brown.
Oh, I just wanted to say this. When you said the name of the movie, God is a Bullet, the first thing that came to mind, if in fact that.
Wait a minute, let's do something now, Reverend. Your audio is kind of cutting up on us, man. Your audio is bleeding in and out. You got any feedback or anything going on over there?
Not to my knowledge. I'll try to talk very, very briefly.
Or maybe just project a little bit louder so you can override that feedback, because we want to hear you loud and clear.
Okay. God is our shield. God is our shield. That would be my comeback on that. God is our shield.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right. Well, once again, you're watching and listening to www.theupliftlive.com, a 24-hour online gospel radio station. And we need the good news of the gospel in such a time as this. Once again, my name's Robert Ashley, and with us today we have the Reverend Melvin Brown and also Reggie Ruffin of the Just Cause Coalition. And I do believe that Arthur Fleming of the NAACP, I think Arthur is possibly trying to cue in on us. And we're going to come up on a break in just a minute or two here. But once again, I want to give a hallelujah shout out to the mayor of Dallas, Texas, Mayor Eric Johnson. Now, he was recently sworn in. Now, I don't know if y'all been hearing about the controversy involving the swearing in of Mayor Johnson. Now, the thing about it was he had John Cornyn, a Republican. I do believe John Cornyn actually swore in Mayor Eric Johnson for his second term, running unopposed as mayor of the city of Dallas, Texas. Now, also at that swearing in ceremony, we understand that the mayor acknowledged Ted Cruz, another Republican, who Colin Allred, big-time Democrat right here in Dallas, Texas, is indeed challenging for that U.S. Senate seat. Now, a lot of people are speculating that Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson may eventually run for the Republican Senate seat that's being held by John Cornyn. Now, some of you might also recall that it was Senator Royce West who ran against John Cornyn, and there was a white woman, I forget her name, but I remember seeing her on that bicycle there, also in that race. So it makes you wonder whether or not we're seeing Mayor Eric Johnson, and Reggie, we'll get your reaction after this break, whether or not we're seeing Mayor Eric Johnson being groomed to be a Republican U.S. Senate candidate, just like you have the U.S. Senate candidate, the young man who is running from South Carolina, the brother who is running from South Carolina. All right, we're going to get ready to pause right now for just a quick break. And 214-239-2898, that's our number to call if you care to join us. Our phone lines are open. That's 214-239-2898. And you're watching and listening to the review right here at www.theupliftlive.com. And we'll be back with more right after this.
We are the Debt Destroyer Network. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt, Call now for free information that helps you destroy your debt. It's great advice. Plus, when you make this free call now, we have debt destroyer experts ready to help. They can show you how to destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help slash your debt. Call the Debt Destroyer now for free information. Call now. 866-500-9945. 866-500-9945. 866-500-9945. Again, that's 866-500-9945.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who've helped people that have been injured or wronged. Have you been diagnosed with cancer? Do you use pesticides in your job? Specifically Roundup. Roundup, made by Monsanto, contains a chemical called glyphosate, which has been linked to cancer. If you've used Roundup and you have cancer, you may be entitled to a cash award. Over $10 billion has been set aside to pay users of Roundup who've been diagnosed with cancer. Time is almost running out to file your claim. So if you've been diagnosed with cancer and you've used Roundup, call the legal helpline now. You could receive a free cash award and have your medical expenses covered. And time to file is almost gone, so please call right now.
800-901-9759. 800-901-9759. 800-901-9759. That's 800-901-9759.
Your number one hit music gospel station. Great Street. Keep it locked right here on the Uplift.
And we welcome you back to www.upliftlive.com. I'm Robert Ashley with you here on a Saturday morning. And once again, you can go to the App Store, you can go to Google Play and download the app. It's called Uplifted Now. And download that and put it on your phone. And when you're in your car, you can play it through your phone in your car, and it sounds like stereo gospel radio. And you got that 24/7 right here at www.theupliftlive.com. Once again, I'm Robert Ashley. Each and every Saturday morning, we're with you from about 10 o'clock Central Standard Time to 11:30, talking about the issues of the day. And with me right now, the one and only Arthur Fleming, former president of the Dallas chapter of the NAACP, and also Reggie Ruffin, the founder of the Just Cause Coalition. And Mr. Fleming, God bless you, sir. I'm so glad you was able to get that link, get that thing working there. And Arthur, how are you this Saturday morning, man? What's going on?
How y'all doing? How's it going, young man?
All right. Well, praise God, we're doing real good. And of course, Reverend Melvin Brown's back with us. And Arthur, I don't know if you've been following the developments this morning over in Russia. It seems like there is a group called the Wagner Group, which is some sort of a militia group. And from what we're hearing from CNN, they may be 2 cities away from Moscow. And from what we understand, there's a possibility that they're closing in on Vladimir Putin. There may be some sort of a coup in light of all the fighting that's been going on over there in Ukraine. So have you heard anything about that? Or how should we continue watch in this war with Russia and Ukraine as over 130 billion of our tax dollars have been spent over there?
Well, I mean, I don't look at war as a good thing, but actually, that group, that Wagner group, that's the group that Russia has been sending over to Africa, doing all their stuff over in Africa. So to have them be disrupted is actually a good thing, for Africa, because again, that's one of those, things that Putin was using. Hey, look, if you at some point, and I tell people this all the time, when a bunch of no good people get together to do something, they always gonna fall out. At some point, they're gonna fall out. And so this is what this is. Again, this guy, his troops were performing better than the Russian troops, right? Mm-hmm. And so, to the point that, from what he's saying, the Russians start killing off his troops. So, I think, and I think that I think that they were afraid that he was going to come and replace those generals and take over the whole program. And this guy's a brutal cat, man. He was like going to the jailhouse, getting cats out the prison, and then like then they say when they get on the front line, they make them go run toward the gunfire. If they turn around and try to run the other way, the officers will shoot them. So so this cat, the Brogdon or whatever his name is, this cat ain't playing. And so if he was the top of Russia, there wouldn't be an improvement over Putin. That's what I'm saying. There would not be an improvement. So they got quite a mess on their hands. I don't know. Maybe this guy that's in the prison that they locked up that was trying to run against it, maybe he would, maybe some kind of way, maybe he could become president, maybe the country. But yeah, actually, the fact this group is going to go against Russia is actually a good thing for Africa, because this is that group that was over in Africa raising all that cane, for Russia. So hey,
well, do you think this is going to eventually bring down Russia? Or now, take for example, if there is an attack in Moscow, I know that former President Donald Trump had threatened Putin that they would hit Moscow if he went into Ukraine. Could this thing escalate, or do you think it could de-escalate?
No, this ain't got nothing to do with Trump. This way past Trump. Trump was his bank.
I'm talking about Moscow.
With Moscow again, depending on this guy, he's saying now, he said, hey, look, okay, well, I need to talk to those two generals that's running this war. So he's while he's saying that, they also marching toward him. So there's going to be a showdown. That they've brought an investigation against the guy. So hey, them cats, they don't play. So somebody finna die. That's all I'm finna say. Either him, because I think they're afraid of his group. His group is so strong that, I think that those generals, because that's where they operate, right? They say, hey, wait a minute, we need to get rid of this guy. This guy can become us.
One other quick, who is arming this Wagner group? Is this going to help or hurt us as a country?
No, this is strictly an internal thing. They about to have a civil war. What it amounts to, they're about to have a civil war within Russia. Wow. So that's actually what that's about. That has nothing to do with the United States. It's just them, running a bad war. The guy, he done saw a bunch of his folks killed for what he feel like for nothing, for lack of backup, for lack of giving us weapons, for lack of, you see what I'm saying, for lack of resources. And so he just tired of it. And then and he said that they shot and blew up one of his leadership teams.
Right.
In fact, they did it on purpose. So that was the last straw for him, because they've been talking, and there's some other militia groups over there besides that one that's also fighting against Russia. So they got some problems on several fronts.
Yes. And speaking of a civil war, coming to you, Reggie, in light of the politics that we're seeing here in this country, and of course, Arthur and remember, I want y'all to comment on this too as well, the situation involving Hunter Biden. This week, Hunter Biden supposedly copped a plea with the Justice Department over a gun charge and a tax bill. And many are saying that this was a sweetheart deal. Others are saying, well, no, this is just the fact that the Justice Department and Hunter Biden and his lawyers were able to work this thing out. And then on the other hand, you have all the Trump supporters. Speaking of a civil war, a lot of people are concerned about the possibility of something going down in this country because a lot of the Trump supporters are upset when they see what happened with Hunter. So, Reggie, the tensions involving the Democrats and the Republicans as we're moving towards 2024 presidential elections.
Well, people do plea bargains on 3-count indictments all the time. Trump is at how many? Almost 80 now. So, I mean, that's kind of that's a heck of a difference. You're trying to compare the elephant to the mouse as far as who has the biggest problems. So, I just think it's a great deal. I mean, of course, the president going to take care of his son and going to get the best thing for him. Trump would do the same. So I don't see what the problem is. Because as they say, as like what Arthur was saying, that ain't got nothing to do with us. So we I'm sit back in my popcorn and watch. There's gonna be some blowback on this.
All right, and I want to hold on, and let's go to Reverend Brown. Reverend Brown, some of your thoughts about if you heard anything about the Hunter Biden deal the gun charge and the tax bill, all that's supposedly taken care of. He's going to go to a diversion program. I will spend no time in jail. And also, he's paid that money back. He had to supposedly borrow that money. But what do you think, Reverend? Is a sweetheart deal, or is it just the system working on behalf of Hunter Biden because his dad's president?
I think it's a parallel situation. I don't know if there's any direct favor. As has been said already, that a father is going to watch out for his family. He's going to protect his own heritage, his own wealth, if you will. So this is just playing out like it normally would. But the thing that we need to focus on is character. When we hear things that are not equitable or they're not honorable for people that are in public office, my first thing is that they need God. Because the only way that we can get any better is that our character reflects the image of God. We got to tell the truth, and we have to treat each other with respect, and we not violate the law and think we're going to get by with it.
Yes. And Arthur, some of your thoughts about the Hunter Biden deal versus all the Trump supporters who are thinking that Merrick Garland, our Attorney General, is not being fair.
Well, the problem is they were overpromised, right? They were overpromised and underdelivered. There was nothing there to begin with. So you hype up something and you say, hey, the boogeyman's coming, and then a mouse comes squirting around the corner. Then, hey, that's what you got. It's a mouse. So, again, this is the environment we're in. This is the misinformation era. And so everything is going to be hyped to get you off the conversation, to get off what you're supposed to be focusing on and looking at something like that. And it turns into that. That's what I'm saying. That's a distraction. And it has nothing to do with me and Robert's community. Nothing. Don't add a dime. And as far as the moral part, again, like I said, I try to stay away from trying to put morality into the political system. The political system is not made for morality. That ain't about that. And so for the people that want to go into it and try to make it about that, that's just the wrong place, and you're gonna wind up voting against yourself. And they count on that. So I'm just saying, separate your morality from your politics. They call it political science, right? Science, that's what they call it. So it's not political morality or morality politics. That's not what it is. It's political science. So let's keep it as a science.
All right. Now, also on this situation, there were some whistleblowers. The House Ways and Means Committee. Maybe starting with you, Reggie. I don't know if you heard about the House Ways and Means Committee releasing the transcripts of the documents of these two so-called IRS investigators, saying that the Attorney General and the Justice Department blocked the investigation of Hunter Biden and gave him a sweetheart deal. Now, these are whistleblowers. So should we take the word of these whistleblowers? And these whistleblowers are Democrats. These are Democrats, and they happen to be gay, because the statements were released. And if you read the detailed document, all that's in there. So how should we interpret these whistleblowers, Reggie? And then we'll come back to Arthur.
Well, to put all of this thing in one nice perspective, all of this leads to one conclusion. And this is what happened after this hearing was over with. Hunter Biden bumped into his father on his way out of the room. You know what he told his father after that?
What's that?
Pardon me. Pardon me.
just like Trump pardoned Roger Stone and several others. And see, there's also talk that if they try to come after Mr. Biden, he may be in a position to pardon himself. But Arthur?
Hey, Robert, look, we need to get out this thing about there's two tiers of justice. No, there's three tiers of justice. There's three, not two, not two. There's a political tier of which you watching now with Biden, or whether it be Trump, their kids spending all that money and stuff, and so on, so on, and they got one set of laws for those folks. Then they got then you have the the other two tiers, the black and the white tier. And that third tier, they the one that's manipulating all the stuff with the other two tiers, and it's about power for them. So I'm saying,
we don't know, we done offended somebody.
No. Well, all right. Well, now, Reverend Brown, I tell you now, from a spiritual point of view, Reverend Brown, it seems like the Republicans are saying, well, look at what you're doing to President Trump. And the Democrats are saying, oh, you're just going after the president's son because the Republicans are upset about President Trump. But do you believe, Reverend Brown, that the Bidens and the Trumps are being held to the same standard?
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure if I'm qualified to answer the question, because the justice system, as my brothers have said before, never had parity in the justice system as it relates to us. But since we're voting constituents of both of these men, I would just say that we have to let their character play out, because whatever they've done wrong, well, here's one thing I do believe. Whatever we do in this life is going to come out. Now, there's a lot of people think because they have a lot of money, there's a lot of people think that because they have a lot of whatever, that they can get away with wrong. But that's not the way it works. Whatever we do is going to come to the light, and we're going to have to give an account for it. And that, I really do believe that.
Yes. And author Reggie, I mean, same standards for Trump, Biden. Do we have parity here, or is it political gotcha here or political gotcha there, or is there a fair playing field here?
It's that third tier manipulating the other two tiers, where they got you asking questions like that. Like, is it whatever? No, it's three tiers. You know, even within the Congress, that they just changed it, I think, about 4 or 5 years ago. But if somebody had a sexual harassment charge against them, you know, against one of the congressmen, they had a system in place where the person that got harassed or whatever, they could not speak for like a year. I mean, they had a whole system set up, kind of like when Trump, you know, like that tier, they go and have sex and buy people off and so forth and so on. You know, and that's a whole nother area of they create all these companies, all these shell companies. They create so many of them that the IRS say, well, we don't want to fool with them, so they go and create a system where they can just steal money. I mean, that's where the immorality is. And that's what we need to be looking at. We need to be looking at how are they stealing all this money, and why we're not getting what we're supposed to be getting. You know, so while we worried about a homeboy's laptop, you know, like I don't want to see his naked pictures. I don't want to see him.
I know that's right.
Okay, but are you concerned about the one of the whistleblowers said that there was they have information where he was threatening that he was.
Where are the whistleblowers at? I keep hearing about them, but I don't see them. And that's another part of the play. That's what I'm saying.
Did you see the whistleblowers? Did you see the whistleblowers in President Trump's case? They wouldn't even name the whistleblower in President Trump's case.
Well, what I'm saying is that's the whataboutism thing. You know, well, what about them? But I'm not talking about that. I'm saying the whistleblowers that you're talking about now, where are they at? I don't see them. I have not seen them. I keep hearing the rhetoric about them. But when they go to get them, they can't find them.
The testimony. No. The testimony was in private. The testimonies have been released. They redacted the names of them.
The Democratic the folks on that committee, Jasmine Crockett, other folks on that committee, they said that they were not given. First of all, they were not allowed to even meet with the guys. And then when they had their committee meeting, they didn't get any. They didn't even find out what happened when they investigated. They just went had the meeting and then said, "Oh yeah, we talked to them." And yeah, that's what they said.
See, Cori Bush, the black woman from Ferguson, Missouri, the black congresswoman from Ferguson, Missouri, she was on the the House Oversight Committee. They were presented with a lot of the information, and this House Ways and Means Committee was the only committee that could get that sworn testimony. But so you got to go ahead, you got to go and read that testimony to
I guess all I'm saying, Rob, look,
see what's going on in there.
I guess all I'm saying is that we got a situation like in Florida where we got people banning our books, right? Calling everything we want woke, doing all kinds of mad things, and then we're talking about my laptop. And I'm just saying, I think
I plan to get to Florida a little bit later on.
If you waited 2 issues, I'm just saying that issue has no value, moral or otherwise, to our community. That situation doesn't teach us anything that we don't already know. You know, we already know that they corrupt. We already know that they get away with stuff. You know, and what I'm saying is that they all up there get away with stuff. So I'm not finna pick one over. Okay, right now the Congress, Lauren Boebert and all them folks, they finna impeach Biden because they don't like his policies. But they not going to impeach Trump, who's been impeached twice, who, they don't want to investigate him. So I'm just saying, that's why I'm saying, I think for us to analyze that kind of
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It just ain't nothing in it for our community. That's all I'm just saying.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, gentlemen, I can certainly understand that. But now from a journalistic point of view, these are big stories, because if you got the House of Representatives talking about impeaching President Biden, and you have these two Republican women on the floor calling each other the B words. I don't know if y'all saw that. Who that? Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. I mean, these women, I thought they were going to go to blows and start snatching each other's hair over the impeachment of President Biden, because of all this information that's coming out from the whistleblowers and all that kind of thing there. But we're going to get to Florida in just a minute or two. But Reggie, coming to you, do you think there's a double standard in terms of how the media covered up the whole whistleblower story on ABC, CNN, and CBS? Certain media reports all the news, and then you have certain media that selectively reports information here. Not that it doesn't have an impact on the Black community, but when you think about all the Black folks who went to jail when the crack cocaine epidemic was dumped into the Black community, the guns and the Uzi machine guns and the tools of genocide back in the day, and here Hunter Biden runs around, makes millions of dollars, and gets a sweetheart deal, but yet we still have Black folks sitting in jail now for crack cocaine possession that the intelligence community seemingly allowed into the Black community. But I don't know, maybe the standards doesn't matter.
To add more credence to your point, think about how many of those Trump tards went to prison for 2 months, 6 weeks, 4 days, whatever, for storming the White House. I mean the Capitol building. I mean, so has justice ever been fair for any of us? Not likely. And this is just going to be another layer of that type of hypocrisy. You remember that back when Al Franken and John Conyers, when they got exposed on their thing, they had this little this slush fund that Congress has for when they're accused of such shading. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm speaking too much.
No. So you're not supposed to bring that up. Don't bring that up around often. Now, don't talk about John Conyers and that deal where they quietly paid those folks off, and what was it, almost 17 to 20 million dollars. Now, Reggie, you're not supposed to bring that up in front of Arthur now.
Well, I got a problem. I don't have a problem. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, well, I mean, since we're making such great dialogue and everything, I just thought it was a good thing to add to it, because this adds to what happens when things are slanted on one side to the other.
Now we're gonna have a conversation about that issue from the perspective of sentencing and how the law. Okay, that's a whole nother conversation. Now that's a conversation we can have about all right.
Well, let's do this, gentlemen. Let's change the conversation real quick. And Arthur, you wrote an article a couple of weeks ago that I thought was really interesting. And so you're writing now for the North Dallas Gazette, and you used some pretty interesting words, and you kind of defined those words. Now, the word woke in the Black community, we thought and we perceived that word as saying you got to stay alert, you got to be abreast, you got to know what's going on around you. But you believe that word has been manipulated?
Well, first of all, the stay woke mantra has been in our community since the 20s, 30s, 40s. It was, and I think it's a reflection of our consciousness at that time as a group. And so, stay woke was a watchword. Okay, it kind of disappeared after the 40s, but now it has reappeared. And so basically now, by the way, the NAACP got a stay woke bus in Florida. But now what the politicos have done, and that guy, I can't think his name, but the racist guy that go around speaking at college campus. Anyway, he said that his whole intentions was to take the word woke and put, I'm telling what he said, and put,
Is that Charlie Kirk?
Yeah, yeah. He wanted to take the word woke and put all of our stuff in it. And then so when you say the word, it means all of that. That's what he said. And that's what he's done. And so now when you hear the word woke, it's all about anything black, and we don't want anything, but we want the history. We don't want to have healthcare. We don't want to have education. Anything that's woke. And so I'm saying that they've been able to politically manipulate that. Now in my article, what I say is, my conclusion is, well, if they're going to do that, then we need to take all the stuff that they do, which is like, vigilantism, all the different voter suppression and so forth and so on. We need to take all of that they do and put it in their bag and call it fascism, because that's what it is. It's fascism. And we need to start calling it that. Now, the mainstream media, they've already, they've been doing it for almost a year now. Our civil rights leaders up to this point have refused to use the word. They're sitting around like do. And I'm saying, hey, look, in order to alert our community about what's actually happening so we can prepare ourselves for the coming situation, we need to know what we're up against. These aren't the same. Like we got, like in the 90s, we got the working with the Republic, we got the black the felons. Once they got off paper, they could vote again. We did that with those were white Republicans in the 90s. Now, those guys are gone. This crew that's here now, these are fascists. Those were regular racists, right? These not regular racists here. These are like fascists. In other words, they got political power and money behind them. You saw that that thing where they the expose where they talked about these two billionaires that run the legislature, call and tell them how to vote. So that's where we are, and that's called fascism and oligarchy.
All right, and let me get Reggie into the conversation. And Reggie, some of your concerns about as we move towards the 2020 elections, 2024 elections, is there a concern about voter suppression, people manipulating these words such as being an activist, being woke, the whole LGBT controversy as it relates to the Black community? Because it seems like the LGBT community and the Black community are now allies in the struggle. So Reggie, some of your thoughts as we're approaching the 2024 presidential elections.
Well, I see an intersection, and I see three fast moving vehicles coming from three different directions. Question is, when they get to the intersection, who's going to get through it first, and who's going to be there a little slow? And this is going to be a very interesting time for America and actually the world as we go forward. I'm looking at the threat of civil war, we're looking at the threat of world war, and it's all going to be decided by who's voted in office. And the Republican Party is now actually trying to show some knee-jerk type of integrity. Now they're trying to clean up the sewage that they've already done polluted. And Democrats, well, they're getting a little too complacent. They're thinking that they don't have nothing to clean up. I was at a Democratic little Dallas County Democratic convention here too. On Wednesday. I was there Wednesday, and everybody's just kind of sitting around trying to see who's going to make the first move. And my thing that I had said at that meeting was the fact that while we're so busy looking at what the Republicans are doing, we need to check ourselves, because we're not that far behind them as far as tainted integrity. Like that little stuff with Eric Johnson. Well, I've been talking about Eric Johnson long enough for everybody to know that him sliding cornering in and Ted Cruz, that was an agenda that was going way beyond what happened when he leaves the ivory tower. He has other aspirations. He's trying to step in on something else, and I'm afraid of that one. But I've never had no faith in him anyway. So he's just doing what he does.
Arthur, did you hear about what happened at the mayoral inauguration, where Mayor Eric Johnson, I think he was sworn in by Senator Cornyn, and I think he acknowledged Ted Cruz. And, there's been this long time political rumor that the Republicans may want to run him as a U.S. Senate candidate to show that the state of Texas can send a black person to the Senate. And I'd say, well, maybe he needs to talk with Royce West first.
Well, and that's why I want to clear. I do know the mayor personally. He has a personal friend, so I want to make that clear before I say what I'm going to say. Now, and I think for anybody that's looking at it, and you made the observation politically, this is my observation. He haven't told me this. I haven't talked to him. I haven't even talked to him about it.
All right. Okay.
But I would say, given the visuals that you're talking about, I think I think the more likely you probably see him run for governor. I would think probably rather than Senate. So
what?
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm giving my look. Like I say, I haven't talked to him. I'm just saying. But
that's interesting.
But I think
the plot thickens.
Yeah,
the plot thickens.
Yeah, and so I'm just saying, and so like I say, they did a. He got they did a thing on Dallas crime. The crime been down for the last. We want to crime free cities and so forth and so on. So whatever he's doing, it has resonated on that level. And so basically, again, that's why you see, the and again, you got to understand too. Cruz and Cornyn, they know one thing. They know that they're in trouble. They know that once we get that some of that 8 million people that didn't vote, 89 million people that didn't vote, when we get them to come out, they gone. And so I think they trying to ingratiate themselves with some melanin.
Well, perhaps we need to be on both sides of the political fence. That way we can leverage some power. But gentlemen, I think I got to get ready to pause right now for just a real quick break. And once again, you're watching and listening to radio station www.theupliftlive.com. If you're looking for great gospel music, great program, there's the one and only Angela Lucky there. All right, we're going to pause right now for just a quick break. And when we get back, I want to talk to author about Florida and what the right community is doing. But also, Angela Lucky is going to tell us about some political progress that's being made right here in our Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now, to learn more.
800-239-0201. 800-239-0201. 800-239-0201. That's 800-239-0201. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-824-4596. 800-824-4596. 800-824-4596. That's 800-824-4596.
Hello and God bless you. Dr. Robert Ashley, the host of The Review, a talk show starting at 10 o'clock each and every Saturday morning right here at www.theupliftlive.com. Now be sure to check us out on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. as we review the top news stories of the week important to the African American community. So once again, that's The Review, 10 o'clock every Saturday morning right here with Dr. Robert Ashley on www.theupliftlive.com.
Your source for your favorite gospel music. It's all right here on The Uplift. Right here on The Uplift.
And we welcome you to www.theupliftlive.com. And once again, go to Google Play, the App Store, and download our app. It's called Uplifted Now. That way you can take gospel music with you 24/7. Once again, I'm Robert Ashley, and every Saturday morning from about 10 o'clock Central Standard Time to about 11:30 Central Standard Time, we do The Review. We review the top news stories of the week. And of course, we're joined by great people who are with us. Once again, Arthur Fleming is with us, longtime civil rights activist, former president of the Dallas chapter of the NAACP, now a columnist with the North Dallas Gazette, as we give a shout out to Sherman and all the great folks over there. Also, Reggie Ruffin, the founder of the Just Cause Coalition, another civil rights organization right here in Dallas, Texas, and also the one and only Angela Lucky. Now, Angela Lucky is the longtime president of the Grand Prairie chapter of the NAACP. And I'm trying to tell you, y'all, when this sister speaks, white folks jump. As they used to say back in the day. Now, they jump out of respect for the sister. Now, also with us today, the Reverend Melvin Brown, who's considered to be our spiritual advisor here. And once again, let's welcome Angela on into the conversation. Angela, we've been talking about a whole lot of things. That they got a big development that's going on over in Russia. You got a group called the Wagner Group. These are mercenaries, and supposedly there could be some mutiny, some kind of situation going on with Vladimir Putin. And supposedly they're marching towards Moscow. So many people across the world are watching that situation because it could be fighting from within. And also we talked about the Trump, Biden, Hunter Biden situation. We talked about all of that, and we've been talking about politics here locally and the president's campaign, just a lot of things here. But Angela, first of all, we understand in Grand Prairie that Black folks are making more progress. More and more African Americans are being elected. Talk to us about that. And thank you for being with us this morning.
And Robert, and thank you for allowing me to come on your show. And I just want to also thank the other panelists that have joined me as well this morning. I tell you, we have made a lot of progress over in Grand Prairie. If you know the town of Grand Prairie have a little over 300,000 people living in this town. And Grand Prairie at one particular time with politics, especially city council, it was all lily white. And I say lily white, there was no people of color that was serving on the council. In its history, Grand Prairie being over 100 years old, in the history of Grand Prairie, before I decided to put a plan together, we had two African-American males that had served on the city council back in the 80s. And then that was Jim Kellum. And then we had an African-American male that served a one term. That was Edward Hemphill. And it took 27 years later that we would see African-Americans start getting reelected back to the city council. And within less than 2 years, I have successfully been able to not only recruit African-Americans, but also get them elected once I've recruited them. So I'm feeling achieved. I'm feeling that the plan is working. I've set a goal, a task that within less than 6 years, you will see your first African-American mayor of the city of Grand Prairie as well. Right now, we have 2 Black females, and we have 2 Black males, and we have 2 Hispanic males. And next year, we got a seat for grab. I'm already recruiting for that seat to get another person of color, Black or brown, in that seat.
Well, let me ask you now, is it because the city is changing, or Black folks getting out to vote? Are you building coalitions between white, Blacks, and Latinos? How are you able to accomplish these elections?
I think in some cases, many people are just tired of the same old thing. And then I am building coalition, but I'm waking up Black people. I tell you, Black voters matters. The NAACP has been very at the forefront of this movement. That's where my drive is coming from. It have come from the NAACP as far as taking something and running with it. And when I mean about taking something, we have a city manager that was our current chief. And, you know, for many years, the police chief, Steve Dye, and I was always at odds at the other end of whatever was taking place in Grand Prairie. He is the city manager. And so one way that I thought that I would be institutional racism is to not argue with someone, but sit back and try to come up with a plan to where I can get people that look like me elected, because now they are his bosses. He probably would have never thought within less than 2 years that he would have 4 Black people that look like Angela Lucky as his bosses, and then 2 Hispanics. So just learning that sometimes it's not about you as a leader, but it's about you to lead and be able to lead, to be able to change things in that environment. And that's what I'm doing in the city of Grand Prairie. I'm changing the environment. People have always lived there, but they have felt like their vote did not matter. Black people felt like their vote just did not matter. So now I'm waking them up, telling them your vote does matter in Grand Prairie.
Yeah, man. And one last quick question for you before we get the panel back involved. President Biden kicked off his re-election campaign this week with a big speech there in Philadelphia. This morning, are you endorsing President Biden's re-election?
Arthur, were you getting ready to speak?
Huh?
Are you ready to speak?
No, he was talking. He wasn't.
Okay. Well, I don't know who President Biden is running against, but I tell you, I am a supporter of President Biden. I voted for him the last time, and most likely I will vote for him, you know, if his name is the person that the Democratic Party decide to have on that ballot. I will be supporting him.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And Arthur, you want to, because I've been hearing that, y'all heard it first right here. Now, if Joe and Kamala don't run, if something happens where they talk Joe into not running, maybe because of these whistleblowers, there is talk that Gavin Newsom and Michelle Obama is ready to run for the ticket in 2020. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, and Michelle Obama, they're saying that that's an unbeatable ticket. But Arthur, what do you think? Who you support, Arthur?
I bet my old guy can beat your old guy.
Wait a minute. But so you is that an endorsement of Joe Biden?
No, that's where we at. My old guy against your old guy. That's where we at. And so, and until that change, that's what that is. And so all that Newsom and stuff, Newsom ain't no fool. Newsom ain't no fool. Newsom ain't finna run for nothing. And Biden ain't finna quit. So this is what it is. Okay. And I know the political folks, they're gonna, you know, they gotta make a little, you know, some have. Basically, this is what it is. And so again, it's right. Biden and Harris. Because look, okay, let's say if they decide to not run for whatever reason. You know what that would do to the presidential field? First of all, it would leave a bunch of Democrats distraught. Black women would fold up their tent and go home. So you just have a big mess on your hands. So I'm just saying, he's not gonna do that. That would be political suicide. So now my old guy against your old guy.
All right, Reggie, what do you think? Then we'll go to Reverend Brown.
Now, like I said, I just think that should be a hot mess altogether. They just need to just leave things alone and quit tinkering with possibilities, because well, I mean, got enough problems going on with you know, on the domestic level here. So Biden said, I mean, as long as Biden can maintain his balance and quit tripping over the floor, he'll be all right. So I mean, other than that, things should be okay.
All right. And Reverend Brown, are you voting for, you endorsing the candidacy of President Biden, or are you going to take a wait and see attitude?
Let me respond. First of all, I don't know Miss Angela Lucky, but I'm so delighted and excited for her work in Grand Prairie. I've been doing this for 30 years of my life in the city of Denver, in Bedford, and things that she's accomplished it's very clear she knows what she's doing. So that the grassroots level of gathering people together, having them being informed of the issues and understanding the character of leadership is very important. And the more people qualified that we get on the ticket to vote makes it more amenable for us to feel like we're part of this system. So thank you, Ann, for your, I'm with you. And we will have a successful presidential election in 24, despite however it looks, because God has our back.
Amen. And coming back to Arthur, and Angela, I want you to, and everybody, Ken Paxton, the Attorney General, former Attorney General of the state of Texas, he's about to get ready to have an impeachment trial. And Arthur, this week, the Senate voted, I think it was that his wife, Angela Paxton, who was a senator, cannot be involved with anything going on with her husband, who was the Attorney General, and he's up on all kinds of charges of being corrupt. So is it about time that Ken Paxton be gone?
Well, let me say something about Ms. Luckey first. I concur with
yes.
Pastor, about the work she's done. Look here, once she learned how to do a press conference, she's been on fire ever since.
well, recently we were at a press conference where I thought somebody was going to try to jump on her.
Yeah. So I'm proud of her, and she know that she can always call me whenever she need me to come with. So I'm gonna be doing that. But as far as Paxton, okay, so his wife is not going to be able to. Which is right. She should recuse herself. Yeah. But like I said again, my whole thing about that whole thing is still. First of all, this man was doing wrong for almost 8 years. Okay, they did nothing. Now all of a sudden they want to get rid of him. I think the Democratic Party could have did a better job of extracting something out of this situation, because to let the Republicans just go ahead and play like they could abstain, but for them to just let them play moral authority folks right now, like they want to get rid of him because he's so bad. No, you want to get rid of him for the 2024 election. So it's political. It's why you want to get rid of him right now. So as far as his wife, not, she shouldn't be able to participate. Mm-hmm. I think she was gonna try to. I think she tried to stay, but they said no, you got to go. This is so anyway. But I hope they go ahead and get rid of all of them, and then at some point we can get rid of the governor, Ted Cruz, and then we can have a better Texas.
Angela, any thoughts about the Attorney General, his wife, the whole Paxton? I mean, this guy's the state's top cop, but he's accused of being a crook now.
Well, it's the old saying, the roosters are coming home to roost. Ken Paxton, most definitely, he needs to go. Speaking as a civil rights activist, many times I have gone to the Attorney General office requesting from Grand Prairie Police Department and was just blatantly denied. So, circle, and it's time for him to go.
Right. And Reggie, any thoughts about the Attorney General? You've been involved with this criminal justice system in your case, but the top cop, Attorney General, gonna get jacked up.
Well, when I spoke with him 6 years ago, he probably was the only one that gave me the most honest outlook on what was going on the political level. He said that he doesn't get himself involved in any type of politics in Dallas County. And I'm saying, okay, why? You're supposed to be the Attorney General, and if someone's coming to you about corruption and everything like that in any area, you're supposed to be handling it. But he says there's an unwritten rule that the Attorney Generals don't get involved in anything in Dallas County. I said, okay, duly noted. Simply means that he was saying that y'all business. So that was one of the first lessons I learned about the political structure. They have these certain boundary lines that they don't want to get involved in. And I learned that recently talking with Jasmine Crockett's office. One staffers there said that they're not going to try to get involved in any type of political issues involving Dallas County. So they're going to let the locals handle.
Oh, well. So, and Reverend Brown,
he got involved with Houston. So I think that's just, political jerk around talk. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what it was.
Well, see, they may have realized too that
they get involved when they want to, so that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
And they realized too in Dallas, Texas, John F. Kennedy just didn't get up and walk out of here. So maybe Dallas has something as a seal. But Reverend Brown, coming to you real quickly about the Attorney General, Ken Paxton, and then I want to go to Florida with Arthur real quick about the bus that's going around challenging the Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, who say he wants to be your next president.
Let me go ahead.
But Reverend, you got any thoughts about the Attorney General Ken Paxton getting ready to go on impeachment trial here in the state of Texas by fellow Republicans, it seems, and Democrats?
Well, Mr. Paxton, with all due respect, he's served in political office, but I think his time has transcended to a time of accountability. And it's obvious that he did something wrong that he's got to face the music for. So I don't want anything bad to happen to him. But by the same token, you asked the question earlier, do we have a double standard? And we can't have a double standard. It doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter how much money you have. I think the impeachment process will play out that he's not fit for government, and we shouldn't be giving all of our time and attention to people that won't live right.
Yes, indeed. And Arthur, real quick, talk to us about that bus, a very interesting story out of Florida, where you have a bus that's going around the whole state. And of course, they're after Ron DeSantis, the Republican governor, who some say have been banning books, but he wants to be the Republican nominee in Florida. But I understand the civil rights community is standing up there in Florida.
Well, I'd been a little bit critical about the NAACP just doing a travel ban. I thought that was kind of weak. If you're going to do a travel ban, should have banned the South. But anyway, but now they came back. Now they're doing a 15-day Stay Woke bus tour. Now I looked up. You can Google it and you'll see it. And they got different names of the organization on site. Now my only complaint now is that there's only one bus. And we have all these different states that need that bus. And so I'm going to continue to push Freedom Rides 2.0. And I'm advocating that we organize, not just NAACP, but other organizations that's organized and bring back Freedom Summers, where we can, get our kids involved. We can organize our communication systems around 2.0 and put out the infrastructural communication in our community where we can empower ourselves with information. Look here, you got AI coming and all these different things that's going to be happening. So we're going to have a space where we can talk to ourselves about ourselves.
Yes. And Angela, also coming to you, Angela, getting ready for the upcoming elections in 2024. Now, here in Grand Prairie and your group, it seems like people have got the voting shoes on. They got the momentum is there. Are we ready for the presidential elections in 2024?
We are most definitely ready out of Grand Prairie. Grand Prairie, I tell you, and thanks to Arthur, he kind of alluded to the fact about the press conference, but a lot of what I know is because I listened to Arthur, taking down Confederacy flags and changing the names of Confederacy buildings in Grand Prairie. If I had not had Arthur in my ear, I probably would not have been able to get those things accomplished as well. But what I'm doing now in Grand Prairie, building coalitions among Hispanic organizations, and then also other minority organizations in Grand Prairie. The Hispanic voting rate in Grand Prairie is low. In this last election, if barely, they were voting at 10%. In order for a Hispanic person to ever be considered or to even get elected as mayor in Grand Prairie, that number has to increase to like 25 to 30%. So just being able to show other minority leaders what it looks like and what it's going to take, because in order for us to be able to elect minority people, we got to work together. And so just thinking it out, but we most definitely are ready for the 24 election, especially the presidential election.
Yes. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, y'all, we got about at least a good 6 more minutes to go. And I wanted to ask you about Juneteenth. Just last week, we celebrated Juneteenth. And of course, Miss Opal Lee considered to be the grandmother of Juneteenth. She's right here from our local community in Dallas, Fort Worth. I can recall on Heaven 97, we worked very, very closely with Miss Opal Lee, and eventually the nation celebrated Juneteenth this past June 19th. It was the second year that we celebrated it. And Reggie, coming to you, this celebration, is it another holiday? Where's the substance? Is it just merely celebrating a holiday, or is there substance that go along with this holiday? Or is it just a statement about freedom and all that?
Well, for me personally, I think that Opal Lee definitely has shown exactly what persistence can pay off for you in the end. I mean, watching her over the years, and just to get to this point, is probably one of the best accomplishments I've seen. Almost rivals Mandela being president of South Africa. So I got nothing but the utmost respect for her and what she's accomplished.
Yes. And Reverend Brown, some of your thoughts about Juneteenth, the nation finally celebrating the Emancipation Proclamation, even though our black president wouldn't sign an executive order so I could get my 40 acres and a mule, but maybe Joe Biden will do it. I don't know. I don't know, but okay, I'll leave you alone now. I'm just I need that 40 acres. Give me $5 million. I'll take $1.5 million. But Reverend, some of your thoughts, Reverend, about Juneteenth.
My thought about Juneteenth is it is very relevant. It's very, very heart feeling that I have for Ms. Opal Lee that has severed so many years of trying to get this done. But I do have this from a biblical perspective, that the Emancipation Proclamation is a legislative process and accomplishment, if you will. But from a biblical perspective, we will never we will never have parity or equality unless we understand who we are as Christians and being free in Jesus Christ.
All right. And Arthur Fleming, Juneteenth.
Well, for context, Juneteenth, John Cornyn pushed it as a result of the George Floyd atmosphere. What was going on, during that time. Now, but see what he didn't realize was that you won't be able to turn Juneteenth into a white sale, right? I mean, you can't. I mean, you can't do it. It's not. It's gonna be hard. White sale. So I think that I think it's up to us to, like we did the last couple of times, go ahead and grow it, make it a day of information and conversation, make it about acknowledging and so forth. And so it's a great event to put against what Ron DeSantis and these book banning people are doing. It's kind of oxymoronic, right? You got a holiday commemorating our main issue, and at the same time you're saying, but we don't want you to teach anybody about it in school. So I think that we're into an interesting time, and again, we're ready for that battle. So I think we need to go ahead and have it.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, last quick point. I think about maybe 30 seconds for each of you. June is Pride Month. Starting maybe with you, Reggie, and we'll go to Angela and Arthur and Reverend Brown. Any thoughts about Pride Month this month? LGBTQ plus.
Well, I've been watching all the the celebrations and everything, but I thought we was gonna get a chance to talk about the new the renaming of Uplift Live. I thought we was gonna talk about that. Remember, we were talking about how we're gonna change it to Reggie Ruffin and Uplift Live, because ain't nobody come to see Arthur.
No. All right, Angela, your thoughts on Pride Month?
Finish the vote, Mel.
I haven't given much consideration or thought with Pride Month. I just tell you that our country, our state, we go from Black Lives Matter. We go from whatever people are focusing on. So I really don't have a comment about Pride Month.
All right, and Mr. Fleming, and then we'll go to Reverend Brown. I think it's time for us to wrap up then.
We have a very large family, and on each side, I have some Pride members. So I think it would be unconscionable for me to be against them having their rights. I know them personally, and I know that what they're doing has no effect on what I'm gonna do. And so basically, we gotta understand, that's human rights. Black folks, whenever we get rights for everybody. So whatever rights we get is for everybody. Okay, and so they have, have the same freedom that we have.
All right, Reverend Brown, you'll get the last word today, sir. Reverend, thoughts on Pride Month. Now, we know what the Bible says about pride, and that's one of those things that God hates, that prideful look, but maybe we'll have to talk about that in detail maybe one Saturday morning. But Reverend Brown.
I got something very different for you.
Yes, sir.
I'm grounded spiritually, and I know my brothers and sisters are as well. I want to offer this song. I don't promote my music as often, but I want to say this, that in spite of whatever we have in this world, we have to realize that God created us. He is the Father of all, and He is faithful. So I'm going to close with this brief hymn we all know that we sing in church, that we might remember the lyrics of "Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father."
Well, Reverend, I don't think we have time for a song this morning. I wish you had told me about that, because it's totally 11:30 right now if you look at your clock. Maybe we can get it next week. Maybe we can get it next week. But great is thy faithfulness. I think that's the next.
I have to sing us on that.
Great is thy faithfulness.
Amen.
Great is thy faithfulness. There
Morning.
is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou not, thy compassions, they fail not.
Amen.
Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me.
Amen. Amen. All right.
Amen.
Well, Reverend Brown, we thank you for that. And also want to thank Reggie and Angela, and of course, Arthur, for being with us. We thank all of you for being with us. I'm Reverend Ashley. Now, be sure to stay tuned to the Uplift here. Great station. Go to Google Play and download the app. That way you can take this great gospel music with us. Vladimir Putin, the head of Russia, just held a news conference, said they're going to go after this mercenary group that's marching towards Moscow right now. The whole world's watching. We plead the blood of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Also, don't forget to go to the Avidity Awards now and vote for us, because we're up for the Internet Radio Station of the Year. And of course, Brother Minister Jermaine Simpson up for the radio personality of the Avidity Awards. And of course, you have until June 30th to get those votes in. Well, look, I'm Robert Ashley. We'll see you. Want you to have a blessed day.